name is Sergio Lozano. I am a licensed customs broker and I'm also an attorney. I've been doing this since before I even knew what numbers were, before I even knew what this industry entailed. I was born into this. My dad opened up his business in 1989. It was him and one other employee. And from there, we've grown to being a customs broker / law firm that handles before COVID, about 10,000 shipments a month. And now after COVID, we're at about 6,500, 6,200 per month. We clear throughout every single port in the nation. And it's kind of what I call my family. This is kind of like my little home.
And I mean, in terms of what COVID's done, I mean, in terms of what COVID has brought along, I mean, nobody expected this, right?
No,
nobody expected this at all.
At all. It's
no
one of
one
those
expected
things
this.
that kind of like got everybody by surprise. Everyone was kind of affected at different moments in time, and when you're a business owner, you have to basically decide how am I gonna work through this, because we thought it was gonna end at a certain point, but in reality, we didn't know where it was gonna end or when it was gonna end.
We're still here a couple months after.
Yeah,
we're still here a couple months after.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Where do you start? Like, where do you start personally with finances?
Okay, so to kind of tell you how I started doing my finance, I kind of put it up here so that way you could see it. This kind of like where it all starts. When I was in college, I realized that I kind of have a certain amount of money that I make every month, and you have a certain number of bills. And before, I would try to keep track of everything through my online banking, try to look at everything as like a one transaction by one transaction. So I reached the point I said, you know what? This isn't going to work. How am I going to make sure I don't forget any one transaction as more and more things occur? So I said, all right, let's figure out a way of doing it. And it's something as simple as an Excel. This is already even more complicated than when it originally started, but it's kind of like the best way of knowing how much money you have or how much money you need to have is by plotting out where your money actually is supposed to go. So I decided, all right, I hate owing people money. I hate the concept of having to ask a bank for money. And I hate the idea of living on a monthly. Why? Because most of the time, a lot of people nowadays, they live off of this monthly that includes an interest rate. What is that interest rate? Which what people don't really realize is every single dollar that a bank lends you is another dollar that it costs you. So something that costs you $10 doesn't cost you $10 anymore. It costs you $10.25, $10.75, depending on where your interest rate is. Now imagine month in, month out, always having to pay those extra 75 cents, those extra 25 cents for every single transaction.
It accumulates.
It does. So my mentality, and it's what I've tried to push, is you have to go to a bank when you absolutely need to. So if that's how banks make money, why not make your own bank? Which I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all.
We've spoken about it. That's actually one of the questions. So the other day you said something along the lines of building my own bank account.
Right.
And when you say building my own bank account, I imagine it's what you're saying now, where you're saying build your own bank instead of rather your own bank account.
Right. It's kind of like, it's this concept of you have your everyday money, right? You have your checkings account, you have your savings account, and then you have one other account where you make your savings account your quote unquote bank. Why do I say it's this other place, it's this other location? Is that money that goes into that spot is not meant to be money that you get to touch without charging an interest rate. The difference is, instead of the bank charging you that interest rate, you're charging yourself that interest rate.
Okay, so you're saving money into this one account. You're saving money into this one account, where then if you do need to pull that money for whatever reason, you yourself are charging yourself interest. So when you put the money back into your savings account, like you should do, I mean, what you should be doing, then you just basically charge yourself interest more and you grow your wealth.
Right. It's the concept. It's basically the concept of that's a bank, just like any other bank. And for every dollar you pull out, that now becomes your monthly that you pay 5%, 3%, whatever interest rate you decide to charge yourself. But making sure that that money does go back into the account on a monthly base. What does that also do for you? If you really want something, you realize that by doing that, you get yourself out of having that additional cash month in, month out. But it all starts with a basic concept, which is you have to want to run your finances. Most people hate having to run finances. Most people hate the idea of having to have an Excel spreadsheet kind of breaking everything down. But how do you know how much you have if you don't actually mark it down? How much do you weigh?
How much do I weigh?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna bleep this out. You know that, right?
Right,
No, I'm
that's
just
fine.
kidding. I'm just kidding. I think right now I'm at 210.
Okay, you think.
Mm-hmm.
How would you know if you are at 210 or not?
Oh, I gotta scale myself out.
Okay, so if you wanted to know exactly how much you weigh every single day, what would you need to do?
Weigh myself every single day.
Okay, and you would get a number that comes off of this scale that tells you how much you weigh.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same concept of what's the point of an Excel spreadsheet. It's so that way you know how much money you have, and you have to constantly be going back to it to have the most accurate set of numbers. So what I do is every single day I set up this account, right?
Mm-hmm.
I live my life with an expectation that off of the amount of money I make, I got to be able to live, since I get paid every 2 weeks, I got to be able to live off of 2 paychecks a month.
Okay.
Right? So I base my entire finances on a month to month, 2 paychecks per month. I go one by one and I make line items of every single thing that I have to pay. So I have to pay my mortgage. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I have to pay my HOA.
Okay.
I have to make payments for groceries. I got to make payments for insurance and taxes. I got to pay for the gym, despite the fact I'm not really using it too much right now.
Just like a lot of other Americans.
I put a number towards savings.
Okay.
And then after that, my Wrangler payment for my car.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I have out after that is variable costs and extra.
Okay.
What is the variable cost? What's the extra? Variable cost is stuff that comes up in my 2-week span that I know comes up that I need to pay, and I pull out of that specific bucket.
Okay.
Okay? Doing it this way, you know here are all your fixed costs. And what you do to be able to grow it even more as an individual is you don't say, I'm going to put $20 away in my savings account. You don't do that. Why? Because $20, what's $20? What's a specific set amount? It doesn't make a difference because, I won't pull it out. No. You put a percentage. Because as you go getting raises or as you go losing money, you put a percentage that you have to put into your savings account, which is your bank.
Mm-hmm.
You're essentially funding your bank every single paycheck.
You're working how they work.
Huh?
You're working your bank account how banks work your bank account, essentially. Like
it's flipping it. It's saying, before I go to a bank, I'm gonna first try my own bank. If my own bank has the funds, why pay somebody else the interest when I could pay myself the interest? Most people will laugh at me when I say that. It's like, Sergio, you're charging yourself to pull money out of your own pocket. Yeah, but that's the best way of growing something, and it's a very standard way of keeping yourself on track.
you grow your wealth. You're just growing your wealth at that point.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can only speak for myself as a 24-year-old college student. And I mean, I feel like I'm sure a lot of other college students share the same sentiment where it's like, you have all these debts, you have all these, you're working your job, you have all these debts. And the reason why I liked doing this podcast was because I felt like this was probably a good tool to show people, especially like around my age, like even people younger than me, and I mean, well, younger than us, to even, kind of like put that into a concept, like make your own bank, like make it yours. It's kind of weird to say, it's kind of weird to explain it, like exactly how we were talking about, but it definitely seems like something that it's not hard to get by. Like it seems like something that you can actually work around fairly easy.
It is. Just the key part about all this is you can have great bank records or you could have bank records. It comes down to how disciplined are you really going to be doing this? Are you going to not follow through, do this one day and not worry about it? Then you're not really going to have a good understanding of where you're at. But if you want, no matter how much money you make, whether you make $5,000, $2,000, $10,000 a year, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. I've had this exact Excel spreadsheet since I was in high school. I wasn't even in college, I was in high school actually when I started it. But I've gone developing it, gone making it bigger, and every single year you just reevaluate. Before, this used to have 3 line items. Food, gas, insurance. Those were my only 3 costs. I didn't have a house, I didn't have anything. So I didn't need as much money to be able to survive, but at the end of the day, what I always made sure was no matter every single dollar I got whether it was I got cash from a friend who paid me for whatever it was, automatically, whatever I received, you take out a percentage and you put it into this bank. You fund your bank. Next thing you know it, when I went to go buy my car, say now 30 years later, I go to buy my Wrangler.
Mm-hmm.
A car, if you buy it from the bank, or if you buy it and you finance it through a bank, they charge you how much in a percentage?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never bought my own car.
Okay.
The only car this car I have right now is a lease, so
Okay.
I'm not too familiar. But explain it.
So basically, when you buy a car, they're going to charge you an interest rate. Depending on how young or how old you are, how good your credit is, how bad your credit is, you're always going to have to pay an interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the interest rate that I would have gotten if I would have actually gone in and bought the car financing it, it was going to cost me 6% interest.
Okay.
Right? I always I will always go to the actual dealership and I'll say, okay, I'm going to finance it. Let me see what your financing scheme is. Your financing is 6%. Okay, perfect. Here's the cash. Wait, what do you mean here's the cash? Here's the cash. I'm buying my car cash. No, but that changes. No, it doesn't change anything. The price is the price. Here's the cash for it. When you're able to buy that car cash, every single monthly payment that I would have been making at about $500 a month with a 5% interest, guess where I make that monthly payment now?
It's you. It's going back to you.
Right. Plus, what do I still put into the savings after every single dollar I make?
Your own interest.
So essentially, you just continuously start funding your bank. The day you can't afford it in your bank is the day you know you're breaking the bank. You have to stop.
Yeah.
You have to wait to either find another job. You either have to find a new way of creating another source of income so you can continue funding the bank.
And speaking of source of income, I mean, we touched a little bit of like trading and stuff like that. I know we want to go further into that later on. But what would you suggest to somebody who wants to get into trading, brand new? I know there's all these apps now like Robinhood and stuff that people are using to get into trading. Like, what would you recommend to somebody? How would you tell somebody to get into trading? Like, what would you tell somebody like, hey, like you probably need this, this, and this to get into some trading?
So, first thing is, and I'll say this to any importer that comes through my door, if the price looks too good, it probably is too good. If something seems like it's a steal, it more than likely is they're going to steal from you.
Okay.
Not that you're getting a steal on a deal. There's some sort of hidden fee associated with most trade. It honestly just takes time and takes falling in the pits, going through the heartaches, going through the issues to understand how to kind of like get through it. And it's just experience. It ends up becoming experience after experience. You need more people when you first start out because you don't really know what you're doing. And as you go developing experiences, different pieces, you stop needing so many different individuals. It's kind of what I would say to anybody who wants to get involved in trade or wants to start not trading in stocks. That's completely different. What I'm talking about trading is trading in commodities, products coming into the country. Because at the end of the day, in the U.S., you have 90% of the product that comes into the U.S. And don't quote me on that because that's just kind of like the basics that I've seen. 90% of the product comes in that is eaten or consumed or used in the U.S. comes from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
How does it come in? No one really knows. That's where you need your experts. That's where you need your people that are going to help you work through and understand how to actually get to that next step of, hey, I got a great price and I got the product here in the U.S. versus I got a great price, how the hell do I get it over here? To get into that kind of trading, most of the time, you tend to have, look, Alibaba is a perfect example of an online trader where you can go buy this product from somewhere else, but you're required to get that product here to the U.S. In most cases, if you're in those situations, then you're not capable of actually working it through without actually having the interconnected people that could help work it for you.
What's your input on like real estate and property?
Real estate property, one of the greatest things you can ever do.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing about real estate and property, so, okay, you say real estate. Real estate is a type of property, right? Your car is property. Your clothing is property. I think what you're trying to ask is like, how does real estate differ from all these other pieces of property, right? Is that what you're kind of asking?
I mean, I felt more about like real estate, buying certain properties and stuff like that. I mean, I guess
Real estate is like anything. You have appreciating assets and you have depreciating assets. Appreciating assets. Your car is a depreciating asset. Real estate, appreciating asset. Stocks. Stocks are generally appreciating assets. So real estate is a key one because once you have a certain amount of equity, it basically you have this piece of land, right? No matter whether it's small, large, whatever it is, it's a piece of land that, because it's considered scarce, it flows with a market. It goes up and goes down depending on how many buyers or sellers there are in a market. But at the end of the day, there is a set value. At least you always know you have a set value that's supposed to continuously increase. The only problem with real estate is that it's expensive as hell. It's not that easy. So if you want to buy real estate, again, this is step one to it. It's knowing how much money you're putting into your bank account. You're putting it into your bank because at the end of the day, in order to buy real estate, to buy it I would say the right way, the way that avoids spending more money and throwing more money at banks, throwing more money at people that are there to help you, you got to come up with 20% of whatever you want to buy. So if you want to buy a piece of land or you want to buy any property, you got to know that 20% has to be in your bank account. And it's not just 20% because it's 20% plus you have to be able to have another 2 months worth of your mortgage payment in that account after you take that 20% out. So rule of thumb is if you want to buy real estate, you should have at least 35% in your account.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's tough, man. But that's why what happens to most people is everyone wants to buy land. Everyone wants to buy expensive things. Everyone loves the idea of, oh, someday I'm gonna buy a house someday. Well, someday starts today. You gotta start with creating the foundation. What's the foundation? You gotta put money into that account. You have to put in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of I'm not going to enjoy that extra drink at the bar. I'm not going to enjoy paying for that extra monthly fee of Spotify just because I don't have to. I'm not going to put that extra $10 a month in Apple Music. Why? Because I'm putting that towards my goal, which is buying a piece of property. So again,
you're hearing that here, folks. You're hearing that here, dude. That's I mean, definitely my biggest problem is enjoying that extra drink at the bar. That's probably my biggest problem. But yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's definitely just we said it, discipline. It's really mostly about discipline, and it's how you can kind of organize your. This is a great way of organizing yourself and telling yourself, okay, you know, if I can only spend this amount of money for these next 2 weeks, stick to that.
So how about this? Think about it the way I'm talking, specifically with that percentage, right? If you'd never see that money in your account, in your checkings account, right? It's in an account that you're not allowed to touch because you said in your mind you can't touch that account. Do you even know that money's there?
Yeah.
If every time you get paid, automatically you're pulling out 20% of that paycheck and putting it into this extra account. Do you ever see that money?
No.
So then do you plan on using that money on your day-to-day?
Yeah, no. If I don't even know it's there.
Because it's not in your checkings account. It literally sits in this other account that you just don't look at.
Explain to me what a 401k is and how all that works.
Okay, again, this is coming from Sergio.
Okay.
What I understand a 401k to be, and from what I've been exposed to a 401k. 401k is you're taking money from your paycheck, right? That money goes to a type of account that you can't touch until you're, I think it's 58 and a half, right? So in other words, this money is sitting in an account you have no way of accessing, right? And the reason why when you start young on a 401k, you're able to develop wealth because that account is associated to interest rates, to investments, and somebody else is managing your 401k plan. They're investing in stocks, they're investing in real estate, they're investing in gold, diamonds, and all in this portfolio that they have, right? What's the purpose of a 401k, which sounds like more or less like why should I do a 401k? Most companies that offer a 401k offer this thing called a match.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Like they'll match whatever money you're putting into it. They'll match
up to a percentage.
Yeah.
Right. So that percentage is, so let's say you're the employer, I'm the employee.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You have a 401k plan. You offer a 401k plan, which means for every dollar, let's say you say for every dollar that I put into my 401k,
mm-hmm.
you'll put in 50 cents.
Okay.
Up to 3% or up to 2% or up to whatever the percentage is. So if you have that, for every dollar I put in, you're putting in 50 cents,
mm-hmm.
right? So now, because I'm putting money into my 401k, you're able to put in money for me in my 401k.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I understand. Okay.
So what's the importance of that? Why is that? Why do you think that's important, and what's so cool about that?
No, I mean it's obviously because they're putting more money into your bank account or into your savings account when you're older, or your 401k.
Right. So as they're putting that money in, $1 invested
Okay.
is worth less than $2 invested.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So for every dollar that you put in, let's say I put in $1.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that happens, it's 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 6, 6 becomes 8. It kind of always duplicates.
Mm-hmm.
You have more money sitting there waiting for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's money that you didn't actually have to put in. It's something that your employer's offering you as a benefit. So the rule of thumb is you match and you put in as much as your employer's willing to put in. If they're willing to put in 3%, you make sure you put in 3% so you can get the full amount that they're willing to match.
And who's in charge of like trading? Who's in charge of investing your money into stocks and gold and stuff? I mean,
it's whoever is your 401k. Whoever actually runs your 401k, typically you'll have 3 or 4 different individuals, and then you get some kind of a say, but they kind of manage it for you. Somebody else is working with your money.
It's kind of scary. I mean,
yeah, it is. It is. But at the end of the day, we only have a certain amount of time. We have Everybody has 24 hours in a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to spend every single day reviewing your account?
True.
Are you going to review every single one of those assets every single time?
I just can't. I mean, I get it. I just can't. I can't think of me, for 40 years of my life working and putting money into a 401k account just so some fat dude behind a desk can lose my money in some investment.
That can happen, but at the same time, what would you do with that money?
True.
Would probably
I'd probably spend it. Yeah, I'd probably spend it at that extra couple of drinks at the bar.
So now when you're 58, right,
mm-hmm.
after you've worked typically a big portion of your life, at 58 or at that moment when you're allowed to pull from that 401k, you're able to now get that money back. And it's supposed to, unless there's like a crash, it's supposed to be invested, and it's supposed to have at least 30 years, 20 to 30 years worth of growth.
Okay.
Versus money sitting in your pocket.
What about like a CD, like a
CD is slightly different. CDs typically 401k plans. CD is kind of like an IRA. You're talking about like an IRA.
Mm-hmm.
You put money into these things and you get charged a percentage. What does the bank do? So let's say there's 3 of us here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get a CD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the owner of a bank, and who do we want to call the empty chair?
I don't know. Let's call him Brian.
Brian.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian's cool. Love you, Brian.
Brian's a cool guy.
Yeah. So
cool
you all of a sudden you want a CD,
mm-hmm.
right? I'm the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say, okay, I know Brian is gonna ask me for $100,000. No, I mean smaller numbers. He's gonna ask me for $10,000 because he wants to buy a car.
Okay.
Right? I know you're willing to give me $10,000 to put in a CD.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take your money, pay you 2%, 3% on that $10,000,
mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to take your money and give that to him and charge him 15, 20%. The difference between what I pay out to you and what he pays me is what banks make money on.
Shit. Okay. Damn.
That's how
I did not know
make
that.
Money.
I did not know how that works.
That's essentially how banks make money. They take the money that you give them,
mm-hmm.
and give it to other people expecting the interest to come back to them.
Yeah, because I mean, isn't this whole country built off just debt?
It's not, I wouldn't say it's built on debt. It's built on the transfer of money.
Yeah.
We live our lives because of money. Money allows us to buy things. Money allows us to invest things. He who has more money is able to invest more. He who doesn't have money is working towards money. Why? Because money's kind of like the means for everything.
Yeah, means to an end.
So instead of using banks, right, or letting banks charge you interest, what can we do? We can each create our own bank, our own small microcosm of a bank that you get to run your own way. And what do you have to always do? You always have to make sure the money that you're lending out of your bank, right, is going to be coming in on a different interest rate coming back in. So if every single paycheck you take 10% and you put it into your bank,
Mm-hmm.
and every time that you pull that money out, you charge yourself an extra 5%, what is always increasing?
No, your wealth. Just wealth in general.
And it allows you to be able to do more things later on. And it keeps you from overspending because you can't break the bank.
I feel like in terms of discipline and in terms of saving money, it's funny because when I first started working and I, joined the workforce, happy as hell, 17-year-old kid, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to save up money. I never got around to saving money until I was maybe 2 years into the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I always thought to myself, hey, let me just save $40. $40. I'm going to put $40 in my bank account. $40. And then I got a raise. I was like, all right, I could do $60 now. $60. I feel like with percentages, it definitely, it's easier. And it's also kind of, when you put things into percentages, you really start to see how much money you're losing. Because, I don't know, I mean, for me, when I first started to do that, when I first started putting my finances in order and I started, putting things into percentages and stuff, I saw, damn, I'm spending this much money on, I mean, this is what I'm spending my money on. Let me up the percentage on my savings. And even then, you still live comfortable. You're still living comfortable enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it.
I'll leave you with this. And then if you want, we could do another interview on this just to kind of, kickstart it next.
Mm-hmm.
Who determines what you... No. Hold on. Let me rephrase this. How can I say it? Who determines what's important to you?
You.
So then you know how much wealth you have because money's not everything. But at the end of the day, you need to be the one who determines whether I'm going to take the money out of this account or not. Society doesn't decide that. You decide that. Are you going to let society decide for you what and how you should handle your money? No. You should be able to handle it yourself in a microcosm. Now, you want to make millions and billions of dollars? Okay, go for it. But is that going to make you happy? Or is being financially secure going to make you happy?
I think just, man, it's something about. It's a tough question. It's a tough question just because not a tough question. It's really not. I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask because I'm sure there are people that are going to be like, yeah, bro, I just want to make millions of dollars and stuff like that. But I mean, man, financial security is. You can have millions of dollars, but be millions of dollars more in debt.
So then so the point I'm trying to make is, which is kind of like my motto when it comes to all this, and I think we could leave off with that. Live below your means. Live below your means. If you make $10, make sure you only use $6. If you make $100, make sure you only use $70, and you put $30 away, because there is going to come a day where you're going to need that $30. And if you don't have to ask for it from a bank, you don't have to start paying it to a bank. If you live below your means, you'll always live happy.
The great Sergio, dude. Thank you so much, man.
No problem, man.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Love it. It was fun.
And hey, we work together. We can do this whenever, really.
Hey, man. You let me know.
All right, sounds good, brother. Sounds good. That was